Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am very glad to be here this afternoon to participate in a discussion which has a special relevance and considerable salience and which has brought together some of the most knowledgeable people in this area. I compliment the organizers, Scotch, for bringing together such a spectrum of experts and specialists who I'm sure will contribute immensely to flagging important issues while also offering valuable suggestions that will merit attention for the realms of policy and practice. Revolution in communication field and the omnipresence of media have made today's world more disaster conscious than ever before. India is particularly vulnerable to disasters given its mammoth population, geographical extent, vast coastal belt, vagaries of monsoon, earthquake-prone nature in certain areas, and the spread of rivers and mountains. In fact, almost 30 to 40% of the days in a year witness, apart from man-made disasters, natural calamities like floods, droughts, heat and cold waves, and occasional earthquakes or tropical cyclones. According to Dr. Frank, press founder of International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction, IDNDR, disasters are tragic, not only because of the great losses to the victims, but also because they're often unavoidable. We can avoid these disasters, and in doing so, media can play a very important role. Most importantly, by timely disseminating information to the target audience. It is said that prevention begins with information. To a large extent, the functioning of modern society depends on the fast spread of information through the media. Information is power, and it is a catalyst to sustainable development. Complete and correct information to the community is clearly a very important tool to assist in developing a transparent system. Community participation is an additional element in disasters management, necessary to reverse the worldwide trend of increasing frequency and loss from disasters, build a culture of safety and disasters resilient communities, and ensure sustainable development for all. Whether a disaster is major or minor, of national or local proportion, it is the people at the community or village level population that suffers most due to its adverse impact. They use coping and survival strategies to face and respond to the situation long before outside help from NGOs or the government arrives. They are interested to protect themselves from the damage through community-based disaster preparedness and mitigation. Research has shown that during earthquakes, volcano ruptures, and other related disasters, the one item that people picked up from their homes to escape with is a radio. A similar research was done in El Salvador. Survivors and even dead bodies were found with a radio in their hands or in the vicinity. Hence, radio becomes a very important medium in disasters. The cheapest of them all in terms of mass communication is radio. Community radio, as distinct from public service broadcasting, serves to bring small communities together, focuses on the common man's day-to-day concerns, and helps in realizing local aspirations. In this sense, it aims to contribute to the lives of the local community by creation of content by the people and for the people of the community. Besides, it plays an active role in the information dissemination amongst the community, thereby creating awareness and social responsibility. Community radio is expected to focus on issues related to education, health, environment, agriculture, rural and community development. The contents are to be confined to social, cultural, and local issues, and the format, subject, presentation, and language must reflect and exude the local flavor and fragrance. The use of community radio, not just as a warning system, but also as an outreach medium for relief and rehabilitation efforts, has been recognized for decades. Community radio is essential in advising where and when food, water, and other supplies will be distributed, informing about the activities of the aid workers assisting them, announcing about missing persons, and also helping to ease isolation, and can be particularly valuable in reuniting separated children and families or helping the orphaned link up with the relatives. Within days of the 2004 tsunami, Commercial Radio Australia began arranging for 50,000 AM/FM radio sets and 6 transmitters to be sent to affected areas in Sri Lanka, and similar efforts were underway to provide transmitters, radio sets, and spare batteries in coastal Indonesia. In the wake of disasters, even when calamities strike big cities like Bombay or New Orleans, rather than remote islands, radio proves its robustness and worth. During the height of July 2005 floods in Mumbai, it was FM channels who served well by disseminating essential and latest information like area-wise flood warning, traffic situation, SOS call from listeners, etc., on a continuous basis. Perhaps the most recent instance of the role of local or community radio in rebuilding lives after natural disaster comes from Kashmir, including Pak-occupied Kashmir, in the aftermath of the earthquake on 8th October 2005 that killed over 80,000 people and left millions homeless. The recent tsunami disaster, which took us unawares, unleashed a massive devastation on a scale unprecedented in living memory. The large-scale impact of the killer waves manifested itself in the worst form in the coastal areas of Tamil Nadu and in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. What is more poignant than the loss of human life and property is the fact that we could put to good use the high-tech warning system and communication lines available with us at crucial moments of natural disasters like this. Sir Arthur C. Clarke, the note and author, said, "The Asian tsunami's death toll could have been drastically reduced if the warning, already known to scientists, was disseminated quickly and effectively to millions of coastal dwellers on the Indian Ocean rim. It is appalling that our sophisticated global communication systems simply failed us that fateful day." Much of the damage could have been mitigated had there been a simple and cost-effective community radio disaster warning system in place at the islands to alert the inhabitants of the impending danger. It is at this juncture that realization dawned upon us as to how indispensable a competent community radio can be to disaster management. When all other media and communication links fail, community radio is the best friend in times of distress. It bridges the gap between public and the world. It's a friendly, portable, versatile, unique, and cost-effective medium to reach the unreached. It can operate on batteries, wind, or solar power and needs little maintenance. Community radio reflects the pulse of its people and uses local dialect and flavor in programming. It ensures free flow of information as there is no top-down approach in its dissemination. Though community radio has been in existence for over 5 decades in countries across the world, in a developing nation like India, it is an emerging broadcasting sector with vast untapped potential. Government of India in December 2002 announced a policy for the grant of community radio licenses to educational institutions and organizations to be identified, selected in accordance with the prescribed eligibility conditions and on terms and conditions of the guidelines for the grant of license for community radio stations. It was subsequently enlarged in December 2006 to include giving licenses to civil society and voluntary organizations. The ministry has so far received 396 applications, which were processed in accordance with the prescribed guidelines. Letters of intent were issued to 170 institutions, and license agreements signed with 53 institutions for setting up of community radio stations. The first community radio station of the country became operational on 1st February 2004 at Anna University, Chennai. At present, 38 such stations are operational in various parts of the country. The experience of the past few years has revealed some concerns. One such concern is the ability and willingness of the educational institutions to come forward for the social cause of upliftment. Notwithstanding these concerns, the need for timely and accurate information dissemination, therefore, cannot be overemphasized. Community radios offer a most cost-effective and efficient instrument of saving lives and reducing property damage. Technology apart, I would like to flag a few dimensions that need greater attention and more in-depth discussion in this context. Disasters are triggered by a natural event which shocks society. Media cannot change the event, but can change society's response so that it does not become a disaster. Media needs ethical guidelines on aspects like aspects such as interviewing those traumatized by disasters, handling privacy issues of disaster-affected people, and in breaking bad news to the next of kin. Investigative journalism is needed to understand the factors and processes that turns hazards into disasters. Media needs to raise and sustain the coverage of the issue of internally displaced people, the IDPs, both in times of disaster and conflict. It is undeniable that any natural disaster is bound to leave its dreaded marks on the affected society, and this destruction could not be fully obviated. However, prior preparedness and proper and justified management, and importantly, the effective use of community radio can ameliorate the sufferings of people to a great extent. Community radios in this context are tools that play a much larger role in protecting the well-being of the general population. All efforts are therefore required to propagate and strengthen and sustain community radio movement. We in the government are ever willing, to consider ideas and suggestions that will make the existing policy more effective, more meaningful, and practicable. Thank you very much.